Donald Trump's Attorney General, Pam Bondi, was humiliated in a Fox News interview of all places when the Fox host actually pressed her about controversial topics, from deportations that lacked due process to Trump violating the Constitution by running for a third term. And to these questions, Pam Bondi responded with lies, stupid answers, or terrifying answers, and we have to talk about it. But before we do, if you end up liking this video and you want to support the channel, please be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and alert bells before you go. All right, friends, we have several clips to play in this video, but in all the videos that we talk about the Trump administration, I probably don't talk enough about Pam Bondi. She's the top law enforcement officer in the country. She's the head of the Department of Justice, and she is the exact opposite of her most recent predecessor, President Biden's Attorney General, Merrick Garland. Now, I had my issues with Merrick Garland. I thought he was feckless and too centrist and too concerned with the politics, in the sense that he was worried that any decision he made could be seen as politically controversial. That's why he hesitated for so long to prosecute Donald Trump, and why he immediately went after prosecuting Hunter Biden or appointing a special prosecutor to investigate President Biden, right? He graded the Democrats and the Biden administration on a harsher, higher standard than Republicans, because he thought that holding them to the same standard would be seen as politically controversial. Oh, you're politicizing the Justice Department by holding Trump and Biden to the same standard. You actually need to grade Trump on a curve, and you need to hold Biden to a harsher standard. Really stupid. Pam Bondi is all in the bag for Donald Trump in ways that Merrick Garland simply never was for President Biden. And you're going to see that in these clips. So we're going to start with this one here, in which Pam Bondi just blatantly lies about the last election.
Glad to have you. So let's start there. Is there any scenario in which the president gets an order or a final judgment from the Supreme Court in which he doesn't agree with it and he doesn't comply?
No, the president is going to comply with the law. He was overwhelmingly elected by an overwhelming majority of the United States citizens to be.
So let's stop right there. He wasn't elected by an overwhelming majority, dumbass. You're either incredibly stupid or you're a liar. One of the two. There is no third option. Donald Trump came in with under 50% of the vote. He won with a plurality, the popular vote. But more people voted against him in the popular vote than voted for him. He did not win with a majority, let alone an overwhelming majority. So you're just objectively wrong, revealing that you're either stupid or a liar. One of the two. And we'll let you decide.
Be our commander-in-chief, and that's what he's been doing. Shannon, just since January 20th, we've had over 170 lawsuits filed against us. That should be the constitutional crisis right there. 50 injunctions.
So wait a minute. It's a constitutional crisis to sue the federal government, for the federal government to face legal challenges? Would Pam Bondi adopt a similar posture if President Biden were still in charge, or if Vice President Kamala Harris had won the election? Would she say the same thing? No, of course not, because again, she's an unprincipled, hypocritical loser who should be made fun of for the rest of her life.
They're popping up every single day, trying to control his executive power, trying to control where he believes our tax dollars should be allocated.
Because he's not the legislature. Again, you're either incredibly dishonest or incredibly stupid. It is Congress, not the executive, that controls the purse strings, meaning they get the vast majority of control over how funds are spent and allocated. Does the president get some discretion? Yes, but Congress's discretion is infinitely greater under Democrats or Republicans, you moron. The president does not get as much, let alone more control over the purse strings than Congress. So if Congress says, hey, listen, we're giving you this much money, the president doesn't get to say no, unless he gets his party to vote against it in the legislature. No, he has to accept what Congress says. And if Congress says you need to spend this money on X, Y, and Z, the president has to do that, because, again, they get to control the purse. Their influence over the country's finances is supposed to be vastly greater than the president's, regardless of who's in power. That would be like saying, Congress should be able to dictate everything about the military. Screw what the commander-in-chief has to say. It's actually up to Congress on everything. What would Pam Bondi say? Pam Bondi would say, no, it's actually the president who gets to decide the vast majority of things about the operational control of the military. She'd be right. But this is the insane view. They want Donald Trump to be truly God King, where he gets to control the military and the purse.
And saying he won by an overwhelming majority is so important, because that's what the American people want.
But he didn't win by an overwhelming majority. You dumb person. He didn't win by a majority, let alone an overwhelming one.
What President Trump campaigned on and what he won on. And he's implementing that agenda at a rapid speed. None of us can keep up with him every single day. And
stupid stuff. I mean, just again, genuinely unhinged shit from our nation's top law enforcement officer. And again, this idea that, oh, just because a person wins a popular vote, again, Democratic presidents mostly win the popular vote. Joe Biden won the popular vote in 2020. Barack Obama won it in 2012. 2008, President Bill Clinton in both terms, or won a plurality at the very least. But this idea that the popular vote gives you license to do whatever you want, again, think about it, Pam Bondi. That means a Democrat, the next time they win the popular vote, they get to do whatever they want. You just need to shut up and do what you're told. Would you be okay with that? No, of course not. These people are insane. But it gets worse.
This is what the judge said. That's just chatter in my view. I haven't been given any evidence in a court of law when someone is accused of membership in such a violent and predatory organization. It comes in the form of an indictment, a complaint, a criminal proceeding that has robust process so we can assess the facts. So would it be helpful in making your case, not only to the court, but in the court of public opinion, to show what you have explaining these allegations against him?
Yeah, and to explain to you, ICE has testified, members of ICE, that he is an MS-13 gang member. And the defense, his lawyers, have argued, well, he should be here because he was studying to be an electrician. Well, let me give you a comparison. I was just in our home state of Florida this week where we arrested 3 MS-13 gang members. These 3, it was a cold case, 10 years old. They are charged with violently stabbing an individual over 100 times as part of their gang initiation. 1 was arrested in Fort Lauderdale. 1 was arrested. He fled to Minnesota. Great police work, FBI, all of the agencies together. Border Patrol even caught him. 1 there. And then the other, ready for this, was a drywall hanger in the Villages in Florida. Hanging drywall. So the argument that because these people are living among us, these illegal aliens from El Salvador, means they're not part of a gang. That's how they're hiding. That's how they're succeeding. Last week, the days all run together. Last week, we were in half an hour from here, from where we're sitting right now in Virginia, and arrested another extremely violent gang member. He was the leader for the East Coast, one of the top 3 leaders for our entire country. And this guy was living in Virginia in a nice neighborhood. There were wreaths on the door. There were children's bicycles outside his neighbor's home. That's so frightening, and that's how they insulate themselves. So we have to rely on what ICE says. We have to rely on what Homeland Security says. They're our clients. And I firmly believe in the work they are doing, and we're going to make America safe again. That was President Trump's directive to all of us.
So Obrego Garcia.
And she goes on to say that Obrego Garcia wasn't actually charged with any of that. You just wasted the last 2 minutes talking about somebody who is not the subject of the question. Shannon Bream's like, he wasn't charged with this. You'd have a point if you actually had evidence that he did the horrific things that you just described. But we're talking about a specific person, and you have to default to an anecdote about a totally separate person who is not the subject of the first question. A judge ordered you to return this person that your administration has admitted you mistakenly sent to El Salvador in the first place, the very country that he was seeking refuge from. And an immigration judge under Trump in term 1, 2019, said that he should not be deported because there's a reasonable basis that if he is returned to El Salvador, he will be persecuted. There will be crimes committed against him. So the Trump administration protected him. You have no credible evidence, or if you have it, you're refusing to share it with the judge or with the American people or anybody, that he has committed crimes. And you say, well, just trust the ICE officers. The ICE officers say he's an MS-13 member. Based on what? What is their evidence? Surely it's not just a baseless accusation. Surely the ICE officer in question has gathered evidence that has led him to believe, or her to believe, that the gentleman whose last name is Obrego Garcia is a MS-13 member, right? Or are you saying we should just whatever? Yeah, he's MS-13. Yeah, obviously. You don't think the government has a burden of proof? And again, just that's how you know she's so uncomfortable with this, because she can't answer the question directly. She has to default to anecdotes about totally separate people. That was the stupid answer, okay? So the first clip, she lied about Trump's popular win. Then she gave a stupid answer in that clip. And then in this clip, she gives a terrifying answer to a question when Fox host Shannon Bream presses her about Trump violating the Constitution and running for a third term. And Bream tries to give her off-ramps. Bream is conservative on a conservative network, and this is one of the few instances you'll actually see a Republican and a member of the Trump administration get pressed to any extent. But make no bones about it, Shannon Bream wants Pam Bondi to succeed here, and she's desperate for Pam Bondi to give an answer that will get people off the Trump administration's ass about Trump threatening to run for a third term. So you can almost see it in her voice. Come on, man. Come on, Pam. Just say the right thing. Just calm this down. And she really doesn't.
Another headline, there's chatter about President Trump seeking a third term. He has said, quote, there are methods. Is this just one of his epic trolls? Or does he or do you believe there is a method short of amending the Constitution by which he could seek a third term?
President Trump has served one full term. He's on his second full term. He's a very smart man, and I wish we could have him for 20 years as our president, but I think he's going to be finished probably after this term.
Probably.
Well, the Constitution, we'd have to look at the Constitution.
It would be a heavy lift, and whether you get two-thirds of the Senate and House to go along with you, but is the concession that that's really the only way to do it?
It'd be a heavy lift.
Okay, Attorney General.
So she won't concede. The Attorney General of the United States will not concede that the only way for Trump to run for a third term would be to amend the Constitution and basically repeal the 22nd Amendment, which requires 2/3 of both chambers of Congress and then 3/4 of the states to ratify. She's saying probably. It's a heavy lift. No, I won't answer that question directly. That's the terrifying answer. And again, imagine how Pam Bondi would react if she were still the Florida Attorney General and this were an MSNBC host asking Merrick Garland about President Biden or Vice President Harris running for a second or third, well, a third term. Imagine the response. This is what I mean. She knows, right? She knows that the 22nd Amendment prohibits Donald Trump to do what he's threatening to do, but she either celebrates the authoritarianism or is too scared to contradict him. One of the two. Either way, she's clearly unfit for the job and an objectively a terrible Attorney General. So we got the lies, we got the stupid answer, and then we got the terrifying answer. Pretty embarrassing for Pam Bondi. In the meantime, let me know what you think in the comments.